You know, there's a lot of preparation going into organizing this conference every year again, and the other conferences. So Mandana and her team are doing always a very good research, and they come back, okay. And so last year she said, Bas, we have to talk about artificial intelligence. Okay, we could see that coming, could not avoid that. We said, oh, okay, fine, we'll think of something. And also, she's always so kind to give some direction. So effectively collecting, processing, applying high volumes of data to better manage an increasingly complex and dynamic energy system. Sounds a bit like how we started this morning. Quite, wow, what do we all have to do? Identify and prioritizing data collection. Let's see if artificial intelligence gets something in there. Enabling the real-time data handling. Yeah, okay. Data processing, definitely a role for AI. And co-piloting the energy system. Now, I heard about the co-pilot of Outlook and Microsoft, but I think she saw a picture we used last year. Because we were talking about the artificial intelligence, and I did not dare to show this picture, actually. I borrowed it from Alex Stefanov, and this is the control room of future at the TU Delft. And I said, well, better write down co-pilot, because we don't really want these types of figures. I don't know if it's a him or a her, but they look humanoid. To really run our system, do we trust that? Emphasis on the word trust. So I asked some colleagues, and I checked in our own company, and I was happily surprised that I got over 100 megabytes of information, unfiltered. Here, Bas, go sort it out. It was also a revelation. It was a journey for myself. Finding doors and sometimes open doors. So about what is AI, what does DNV do in AI? I just heard about it, but I didn't really look at it. How does assurance come into AI? And then what does it do to our grid? Which applications? And then we have a little play with images. So, yeah, we cannot avoid it. It's a tsunami. And you cannot listen to the radio or see a show everywhere AI. So in this 30-year span, everybody has done something with, maybe I can ask, who has done something with ChatGPT? Yeah, who has not done something with ChatGPT or something the like? Was it fun? I found it was fun. It was quite impressive. I mean, and I will show you some of the results. I also had some scary moments, which is about the images. We'll come to that later. So everywhere, without knowing it, we are already in AI. But you see your phone doing this. Sometimes you wonder, where did this come from? How can I? And you see your LinkedIn, your social media. In cyber, we're doing it. Business, a lot of the autonomous ways, scientific, the imaging and the text, of course. Yesterday we had a Zoom call with Vietnam with direct translation of the Vietnamese were speaking Vietnamese to us, but I heard English, and I was speaking English to them, but they heard Vietnamese. There must be some AI in there. The video progressing and processing, synthetic data, whatever that may be, and coding. So, as you have maybe used me and see me doing this, I will use a lot of slides and do it like a flyby. But the interesting thing that comes up then, okay, we use AI, but can we trust it? And do we need to make any definitions for trust? High trust, low trust, high risk, low risk. And where we are moving is in the industrial AI, and our imagination is the limit. We don't know what will come. But can you trust it? And when I looked at this picture, it's data, quality of data coming from sensors. We have a model, we train the model, we apply the functions, there's quality of algorithms, there's machine learning applications, and the assurance that it's doing a right thing. And you're building a system with it. And the system has to be assured, but and digital twins, an element of this also has to be assured. And when I was going through this, and what do I see? I see just another machine. Just. Because when we do a control system and an automation system, we rely on digital processing, in the past analog, for a machine to run things for us. We trust that machine. We make it do what we want it to do. And now we get in a bit more imaginary domain where artificial things, and we built a machine with artificial things, but we want it to do how we have imagined it and not do the wrong things. Okay, but it becomes a little bit more scary, maybe. And that's how I also stumbled upon my own company doing digital trust. How will you assure that digital systems can be trusted and are doing the right things? And here it is applied to the energy transition, because we need that. I'm saying we need that, but maybe I should make it a question. Do we need that? Our company likes making recommended practices, so here's one about assurance of AI-enabled systems, to make sure that these systems are doing what they're supposed to do and not secretly doing something else. So in the assurance, we're using AI, imaging, but also we are doing assurance of AI. And in a way, that is a new domain. It goes hand in hand with the development of AI and the development of code. A bit about DNV then. It's my broadcast time anyway, so let's take the opportunity. We're 160 years old now. We started in ships, and we're still big in ships. Many of the examples come from the maritime and offshore. Energy, advisory, software, cybersecurity, of course, and the certification of quality management systems. And we do a lot in R&D. And why? I came across this picture, nice-looking fellow in the old-fashioned times, writing with a pencil, and nothing digital here. We have no choice whether we like it or not. We have to do research from experience-based to science-based. That makes sense in a way. It's an open door, but apparently in that time we have to really think. We have to do research and work on this. So that's how it started for this company. The maritime energy systems is where I work. Digital solutions many times go hand in hand. We have a data platform. Here's where the ISO certification is, and we have an accelerator. I will show you more. And here's the group research and development. And so we're spending a lot of effort on different areas in this research and development. And now, because I can work 1 day a week at the university, actually, my funding comes from our R&D team. Thank you, R&D. The accelerator is to accelerate, of course, like an incubator. And now that we have invested heavily in also all these cybersecurity elements, we acquired Nixu, 400 people. We already have applied risk, part of EEISEC. So together we're now DNV Cyber with more than 500 people addressing the real world, the OT environment in energy, in offshore, in maritime. So that continues. And that will be further elaborated. Back to the digitisation and the parts of assurance. So we know we have assets, we gather information, we try to make sure that the information we gather is okay. So in the physical asset world, we go from physical, that we can touch, to digital twins, machine learning models, and virtual assets. On the information gathering, it started with collecting meter data reading, and to fully automate it, and drones, and collecting data in that way. And then on the assurance, it was normally the human doing the assurance and the quality control, and it evolves to having machines doing that. So it helps us. At the same time, we give it out of our hands. And this is also what you then mean with digital assurance. How do you make sure that this goes well? A lot of examples of the R&D world. I love this digital twin. Impressive boat. I hope it floats, but then it's a digital world. But there's a lot on the renewable, the artificial intelligence, energy transition. So it's all the time evolving and trying to keep up in one way trying to keep up, but also trying to direct how things are going, especially from an assurance point of view. I skipped the outlooks and the knowledge, but on the technology, you see that trying to deploy these new elements requires technology, and how do you then use it and make it happen? And it is, again, in our energy and worldly domain. Prototypes, many times made, trying to find out how things work. In this case, it's examples for ships, corrosion detection. But there's a lot of possibilities to be deployed here. A little step to what AI means for Europe. Where does it come from? And here's one of the things that is, Europe is front runner in case of now putting in an EU AI Act. So in the US, they've been deploying and developing a lot, but they've not really kept up with legislation. It seems that we are doing it the other way around. So all these parties working with AI, they now have to comply to the rules that the EU has been putting in. So here's been a lot of effort done, and it applies to the public and the private actors inside, but also outside of the EU. So for me, anyway, it was interesting to try and understand this. I had heard it, of course, in the news, but I really did not study it. But here you can see that we all here are the affected persons. And there's a provider of AI, there's a distributor, somebody deploys it, uses it, and somebody imports it. Yeah, also interesting to see, because we have rights as persons that may be impacted and affected, and then the actors that are doing this, they have to follow rules and they get obligations. So when it comes from outside, we import it inside our EU border. So anyway, from that point of view, it's already good that there are some rules and regulations that have to apply. The EU AI Act defines how the system, what system it is. There's input, it has objectives, there's output, predictions, content, recommendations, and there's influence of the physical and or the virtual environment. So this influence that may impact us in the wrong ways that we did not want. So now you come in the area of managing risk. There's minimal risk, there's high risk, and there's unacceptable risk. Those are more social, and the high risk is when we would apply, or when we are applying AI to grid operations, here may be a high risk. So there's some about the regulation of products with AI, there's the general purpose, and there's also an area where it does not apply. It's research, development, but of course also military and our national security. So there's still the little corner that we can play with. What are high-risk use cases? I was glad to see critical infrastructures on the first list. And also then, it's not only water, gas, heating, electricity, it's education. It is the way that we do training, employment, workers, because many people are now afraid of AI because it will steal their jobs. But not so long ago, I was doing a water project, and there the workers really did not want to have automation with RTUs because they felt it would take their job away. I said, but it's much better, from my point of view, much nicer and much more modern if I can collect data. I don't have to drive halfway across the country. Nice field trip, but I don't have time. I want to work with the data. So here you see also this shift. Well, the services, law, border control, yeah, important. Emergency calls, I had not thought about that, how that can play a role in here. And then, of course, the identification on biometric systems. So it may impact us in a negative way. I like this picture. I needed to show it to you. That who is arm wrestling and an AI visualization. But this is really all about our safety. And that's why the EU put in this AI Act. it comes with quite some obligations for the parties that are introducing AI and working with this. And it's about quality, and it's about risk, and it's about safety, and it's about us being able to work in a still safe environment. Yeah, and it needs future-proof. Because it evolves, and we make new systems, and they have to work together, and there will be new criteria, and there's new ways of processing and quicker ways of processing. So it's good that it's already being looked at up ahead into the future. And is this new? Well, yes. We're going one step beyond, or maybe many steps beyond. And actually, here is our world described. Digital solutions are becoming more in critical operations. Yes, that is what we're doing in our grid operations. Advanced simulations. We're using more and more simulations and digital twins to run our grid and to improve the way we work and the way we work the grid. Data integration from multiple source systems. That's exactly what we're doing. And here, I'm happy somebody wrote OT. And somebody knows it. So there's OT and IT systems. We're collecting data, more data across more disciplines. And the data needs to be of quality. If you have shit, then it's shit in, shit out. Excusez le mot. But it also puts challenges to the organization. It's about people. How do we manage this? How do we have the responsibilities and the governance? And how do we use this in our way of working without getting frustrated that it's taking our jobs? Yeah, and probably it's going to change more and more quickly. So how do you keep up? And then there's this other element. Well, it's not even an elephant in the room because we have identified it, we speak about it. Security and digitisation. Yes, our attack surface gets bigger, but our ways of working and securing it, security by design is already there. We have to make sure we deploy it in the right way. So in one way, this more digitization provides this more attack surface. Digital twins could be attacked as well. Maybe we did not think about that yet, but yeah, of course. It's our digital twin, it's connected, we're putting in data. If somebody plays with that data, our model changes, and the digital twin is just another model. So that becomes more difficult, and the same thing, AI provides powerful tools to the people that want to do harm to us and want to make use of this. So, and we have a competition here. This is a kind of a gloomy picture already, but all the elements are there. Safety critical systems, new risks. It's the offshore. Our economy, unfortunately, still runs a lot on fossil. So we will be confronted with it, but more and more renewable energies. And much of that is out at sea. And that's why this recommended practice is there. The different elements in AI, how to put it together and how to create a system. And so from that point of view, I was a little bit assured myself that anyway a company that I know is looking into this and making sure that, well, there's the possibilities to monitor that. A lot of complex systems getting more complex. Actually, that was the discussion we had with the flexibility of the market. How many systems do we have to get in place? How do we make them work? It's getting more. Is it not getting too complex? Yeah, maybe that is, but that is also how we evolve. We have to try it out, find out better ways. And it's the same with the discussion we had. Yeah, should I buy now or wait? Now, if you buy now, you start using it. We have to start using it to get this experience. Now, recommended practices on all types of parts. Here's a little bit different overview. Here's one on cybersecurity. There's a list. This one we worked together, all of you actually, or some of you, including Tenet and another number of Scandinavian transmission system operators. Yeah, it doesn't tell you anything, but this is about protection relays in substations communicating to an RTU. How do you make sure that also in your older type of substations that security is guaranteed? Have you done the right things? What can you do? In this, so this was the first document. Marily sent it to me. Thank you. And that's where a lot of these nice pictures come from. So in the UK market, just like all our others, although it was very strange to see the NSOE picture this morning and then with a white UK, okay, you're connected anyway, you cannot float away. But their challenge is the same as all our challenges. How do we get this energy transition done in the right way? So they did an exercise together and investigate what steps to take to organize this, and could AI have a meaningful contribution to speed up? And yeah, sustainability, security, affordability, and how do we manage this transition? And are we doing it the right way, and are we doing it quick enough? So it's nice to show where it came from. So Alan Turing, 1950, can machines think? That is probably the first question that was then asked. What is artificial intelligence, before we called it artificial intelligence? So 1997, the world champion chess was beaten by a machine. And today machines are anyway always beating the world champions in chess. And then in 2023, AI system could pass a law exam better than 90% of the students. These pictures are nicely generated with AI, by the way. So these are still the nice pictures. It describes the different types of AI. Nice to see that there's these differences, but we'll skip it for now. And why are we doing it? These are the same ways why we started automating processes in the past. We need to save cost, we need to increase the quality, and we need to increase the speed. And we're already at a higher pace than in the past, so here AI can help us. So that is the main drivers. And here's maybe also then this disruption that we are looking for. But it comes back to this trust. Do you trust your machine? When you get in your car, and you trust, and then by now the quality of cars has increased a lot, you trust that your car has been certified and that with a little bump it will not kill you. Oh, you have to do some things yourself. Suppose that you put on your seatbelt. I know my car gets very upset if I don't put on my seatbelt. The faster I drive without a seatbelt, I really get deaf from all the alarms going off. It has not stopped me yet. But I can still get into an accident, I still can hit another car, I still can drive dangerously, so that's the same here. And trust comes on foot and it leaves on horseback. So it is very difficult to build trust, and it can be very easily lost. And it's all about information, which information do we use, and also understanding where it comes from and how it's communicated. And if you can trust then these systems doing that. So this framework that I've already shown you, it's about the stakeholders, the systems, the evidence-based argumentation. It's about modularity. Yeah, why not? Of course, all the systems we build today built around modularity. Risk and uncertainty, and luckily, of course, in our ISO world, we have definitions for artificial intelligence, managing that, and we have definitions for the quality of data. So, not reinventing a wheel, building on existing information. The use cases they use here for the UK market is the oil and gas, of course. We cannot get rid of it yet. But also the renewable energy. In this case, these windmills are all far offshore. We need to maintain them. Can we use that with artificial intelligence? More about gas grids, the electricity itself, forecasting. I found the last one interesting, increased accuracy, energy measurements for consumers. I thought we had introduced smart meters, but we were already quite accurate. But apparently we can do more there. So this was more, let's say, an exercise to try and understand what is happening in AI, and if AI can help, in this case, the UK energy market transition quicker. Finally, let's go to grids and grid operations and AI. So I showed you this picture. This is our smart grid. Oh yeah, I got the question, by the way. Why do I put in S? Because many times you hear people say the grid has a problem. And then I always ask, which part of the grid then? Where are you? Where are you connected? Are you in a low part? Are you in a high part? It's all regional. and they all have their own constraints and difficulties. So together they are the grid, but you cannot say the grid by itself as a problem. And then Mandana came with her questions, how to identify and collect. Well, you see, we're collecting more. We have more communication channels. We have different systems talking. I hope they're talking together, which is already a very big challenge. What to do with all that data and how to make sure that it works well. And, of course, I cannot have a presentation without this slide. This was the first time I showed it here, was in Berlin 2020 in this way. And when we're building our machine, our real-time data machine, with all the different applications, in all these elements, we're starting to use artificial intelligence. And then where are you going to deploy it? How are you going to deploy it? And who is your partner doing that? And I'm sure it's not just one partner. It is going to be several partners. And we have to understand how to work with it and how to make this work better. Yeah. So, what do? You ask ChatGPT. Anyway, I asked ChatGPT. I said, Chat. So this was the very first time I used it. So, give me an overview of an artificial intelligence applied to operations of electricity grids. It's fascinating. You type it into the box, and it thinks some seconds, and then it starts typing. And you see your screen fill up, and you say, wow. On the fly, it reaches out on the internet, and it comes with a very sensible way of thinking and working. So this is what ChatGPT says. So it's a crucial role in the operations of electricity grids. Efficiency, reliability, sustainability. Hey, where did we just read that? And here's an overview, and it gives the overview of the applications. And I will show you the details after this. So it's, of course, demand forecasting. That will help. There's so much data there, and we've been improving so much over time already in the forecasting. And it's not only demand, actually. It will also be the generation, renewable generation, and how to match that. Comes to the load balancing then. And the other end, we need to have the maintenance done in the right way and can improve efficiency there by doing predictive maintenance. Optimization of the grid itself and the grid planning can help us tremendously there, and integration of renewable energy in that case. Fault detection, of course, and response, but then you have to have the data there, and you have artificial intelligence immediately be able to help you. So you have to build that machine that can do that. It makes sense, but it is not just done like that. It's nice that it thinks and gives you the suggestions, and now what are you going to deploy? We have a lot of projects already, we heard. Storage, security, control of voltage, the market operations, of course, customer engagement. Yeah, here we, as own users, have to start being more aware. Look at the discussion we had. And of course, the planning of the grid over time. I'm not going to read all this. You can find it in our wonderful app. But this is how ChatGPT tells you what possibilities you have and what to do. And now, if we then discuss, for instance, control room of future and control system of future, who is going to do all this? And this is not one party. It's a lot of different parties who are going to work together in doing elements of this, and then putting it together. And ChatGPT is also so nice to give a summary then. Transformation, operations, electricity, real-time monitoring, optimization, and decision-making capabilities. Real-time. Okay, real-time, realist time, realer time. Anyway, fast. And this was, we had a discussion this morning. If all these cars, if suppose that all the battery cars will start charging back, and that we are going to monitor and control all these renewable power generators, can we achieve, is the system fast enough to have balance? And is it only regional or local, or what does it do on the transmission system with balance and unbalance? Anyway, these applications can help, yes, because they are here to help us, to make all these steps happen maybe faster and better. And still, we have to do a lot of research to be sure to do it right, and also to be able to trust it. So we are not the only conference doing smart grid technology. Everywhere around the world, smart grids. So this is from an IEEE, ISGT, Innovative or Intelligent Smart Grid Technology Conference last year in Grenoble. The difference here is there's a lot of universities there working together, also with industry. And in this one, it was about data and AI, and then communities and storage. But you see that, of course, and it's not a surprise, energy hubs, smart energy solutions, local energy management, we have to manage it locally, but congestion and the constraints, but also the sustainable energy development in congested areas. We cannot stop developing an area when there's a congestion. We'll have to do hand in hand and find out how that works. The automatic and the automated curtailment, yeah, we don't want it, but we, unfortunately, will have to live with that for a bit, and maybe forever. The microgrids, everything is there, but buildings and real estate will start playing a more important role with the grid edge, the vehicle-to-grid, and yes, the real-time interface. But then if you look at, again, data collection, interoperability, real-time, cybersecurity, and managing this. So there's a big element. So technically wise, we can solve it all, but there's a big element of us, humans, to run it and to make sure that it is going in the right direction. So many different new parties, many different ways and systems and applications. Why is this not sexy for young people to come and join us? This is the most exciting part. But so somehow they don't know. And then I thought, so when I was at this conference in ISGT, one of the students, a PhD student, gave a presentation, and of course, AI, data processing, and every single graph and picture that was there was generated with AI. This was so beautiful. I'm sorry I forgot the content, because I was only looking at these pictures, and I said, how did you make this? And how much time has it cost you to make this? And he said, well, I used Midjourney. I had never heard of it. And so I thought, okay, I'll try that too. And actually, you know, and now when you're doing PowerPoint, it starts to suggest you new designs. So I don't know where this came from, but suddenly it was as a choice that I could use. I said, oh, a nice picture. Has to do with our energy, so I'll use it. And I asked these 3 questions to both Midjourney and getimg.ai. I'm a Dutch guy, I don't want to pay. So the Midjourney allowed me 3 sessions, and then it says, stop, now you pay. I said, okay, I'll find another one. And there's many more, of course. But yeah, you have to quickly try and find out, how does this work? And the funny thing is, you give them a rule, and they start doing something, and then they give you 3, 4 options. And you can play with different themes. So bear with me. I'll show you my adventure and where it ended. It started quite good. This looks like a reasonable area to live in. I assume there's people living there. But it evolved, and this does not look so livable, but there's a lot of overhead lines. And here I see only generation. Maybe I have to mention that there should be people there living as well, but next run. You see something funny happening to the wires here, so is that maybe what they call haywire? It's getting more gloomy. I mean, while I was doing this, I was getting a bit scared and a bit concerned. This is not the world I want to live in. And luckily, it gave me the option to do the Vincent van Gogh way. I said, okay, I'll try that one. Oh, sorry, maybe this is the, where did it, no, come back one. Maybe this is Nikolai Tesla in a Van Gogh style, I don't know. But I could not find anything that had to do with renewable energy here. This became funny, especially the transmission tree. But here it looked like the world had already been deserted and everybody ran away or is hiding somewhere. And it got worse. So this is, I got the impression my AI exercise had been watching too many science fiction movies and made it very gloomy. I decided this is not where people live. I have to stop. I have to do a complete different way of questioning because this is not going anywhere. It's not making me happy. So it got worse and worse, and I said, okay, this is looks scary. I have to do something more fun. So I stopped. I said, here, this I understand. So coming back. Yeah, because we have to build this machine, not only this machine in running our grid operations and coming to the next generation, but also then how to build a machine working with all those AI elements. So it requires also a lot of research and a lot of people deploying this and trying it out. And we are not going to get away from increasing all of this. More data, more collection, faster, real-time, whatever real-time means, and real-time processing, but also this system has to be updated quickly. That's the modularity. And to scale up and become interoperable and remain interoperable. Applying secured AI. So now I was in doubt. Should I say assured or risk-free AI or secured AI? As an electrical engineer, I thought, okay, secured is the word that I will use. So this is how we evolve. This was my first steps in understanding what happens with AI, and it opened the world that, yes, we have to trust this as well, and it's another machine that we're making, but it's maybe a more scary machine. And I changed one letter in this slide that I've used. It's the journey towards next generations. It's not one generation. It will go on and further. And yes, we need all those young people to work with us and be excited to work in this area, because I don't see what is not exciting here. Thank you. Any questions? Or you're scared now from AI? Or you asked ChatGPT to come up with a question.
Oh, hi, Bas. A question coming is AI is getting good, better. AI is getting good and better in his proposal, and the problem is I face is the human more and more rely on it, and so slowly they forget how to do without.
Yeah.
And this loss of competence in the grid control, how can we deal with that?
Yeah, important question. How can we deal with this change? And in a way, we forget the connection to the real ways of working because we have so much help. And when we started using the calculator, we forgot how to calculate ourselves. In the past, I knew all the telephone numbers of my friends out of my head, but I have no clue. Without my phone, I don't know. And it is the same in a way in the operations room. The operators from the past who've been living with their grid for so many years, they spot immediately what's going on. And the younger generation, by using the tools, may not recognize that. Yeah, that is an important observation. I try to be positive always and then think, okay, but these other youngsters, they grew up in a different way of thinking as well. And in one way, the older generation has to teach the youngsters how to beware of this, and the younger generation will teach the older, if they're still open-minded, to adapt. So you need this team and cross-fertilization. And I remember, actually that was already a longer time ago, in Holland we had a contingency at the province of Utrecht with an interconnection. And there was a younger generation working on the controls, and something went wrong with the controls. But the younger generation did not know what was happening, and it was getting worse. And then a guy who had been working there 30 years comes in the control room. He looks at it for some seconds. He says, okay, that is wrong, do this. And he actually put Utrecht into blackout before it would take hold of Holland. And he recognized it. So there will be contingencies that will not work, and I think we have to trust and go through it, and that's how we learn, and we hope it doesn't do too much damage. We had a question first, and then Jörg.
Carsten Slunge, Energinet. I was wondering, many of these models we have today in AI are based on these large language models and recognize language and look through the internet on what to have out there. But it seems I haven't been able to find any that actually focuses on things like physics or how does the world work, or because they're all reliant on what has been written somewhere on the internet. But are you aware of any development in this direction, looking more like we are? If we want to do fault analysis, we look at some sine wave and look at the spikes on it and interpret that. But things like that I haven't been able to find out there.
No, I'm not really surprised yet that you don't find it on the internet, because the universities are working on a lot of research here. So in the department that I work, so that's the sustainable energy, the renewable sustainable energy, and the intelligent electric power grids. We have 2 researchers, professors, working on AI and large language models, especially in our domain. So in the electricity grid operations domain. I'm always fascinated when they give presentations, because I have to try really hard to understand what they're talking about, because they assume that everybody knows what they're doing. But the publications on that they are not so much yet on internet, and you would not really find them. If you want to find more, you have to look at the research programs at the universities and see if you can get more on that. And if you want, we can connect, and I can get you in contact with my colleague, and well, Alex Stefanov is here working together with them as well, so we can give you that connection. We have first Jörg, and then you.
Yeah, I think for a good reason, we will see AI, we will already have digitization of the grids. I mean, the main thing is that we make the energy system more complex due to energy transition. So it's a very good reason to do that, because it's all about our planet. But as an engineer, I know that if you make systems more complex, this is also a high risk. And I do not want to sound pessimistic, but I think it's very important to think about if things go wrong. So the question, the example you just gave, in Germany we had this terrible flooding in the Ruhr region, and the local DSO, he lost his OT. So the servers with the grid control system were in the first floor, and they had to go up into the second floor. It was all underwater, the grid control system was gone. But then some colleague said, well, I've made a printout of our grid, I've got it in the drawer here. He took a big piece of paper, and then they used this one and penciled in the changes they made, and so that was their grid control system for this crisis scenario. And I think this example tells us, when we think about all these fancy new things, which I really like, and which I'm pretty sure will also attract the younger people to the utilities, we have to market this in the right way. But we also have to think about what if things go wrong, and what are we going to do there? Because if we don't do this, we will be totally screwed, and other parties will like that when we are totally screwed, and I would not like that from happening. So I think that's very important, to think in advance about how does the system, how can we go into a fail-safe status and things like that. So I mean, and the question is this being done, or are we so excited about the new possibilities of AI and digitization and put this a little bit aside?
Intriguing question. I like to address it from the business continuity side. So every operator of essential services has to have a business continuity plan, and should be prepared in their thinking and their processes to deal with disasters and how to get back. But that is a very complex way of working. This is the risk management. Every company has adopted a risk management methodology and then a business continuity. Many times, if you want to go to the CFO and you ask, what is your budget for business continuity? And then the next question, do you have cybersecurity in there? Because many times that was forgotten. So they have the obligation to have these contingency plans, but at the same time, you cannot be prepared for everything. And sometimes you're lucky that somebody had a drawer that was not also underwater, that he could get to, and that you could use that. In a way, how Ukraine got back after the cyber attacks on their system is the old-fashioned style, calling people at the substations, sending people there, and having people in the substations to do the switching. In Holland, we have unmanned substations, in Germany too. So you first have to take your bicycle and go to the substation. Yeah. But yeah, I understand your pessimism and your concern, and then still we have to, some will fail and will be the example for us not to do it that way. Yeah, I hope that gives you some feedback. Yeah. We have one more question.
Hello, my name is Răzvan Tudor, I'm from Electrica. I would like to add something to your presentation, if I'm allowed to, and then to address a question. I think it would be worth to know that a few days ago, or maybe weeks ago, there was a report, a public report, given by Gladstone consulting company as a request of United States Department. And for the first time, we have a public document talking about the risk taxonomy concerning the using of artificial intelligence. So for everyone in the audience interested, just search on internet and you'll figure out some scenarios that people are already considering and are trying to figure out how to do and what to do. And the question I'm having for your presentation is coming from a personal perspective. My understanding is that artificial intelligence became better and better because it started to learn easier, faster, in a different pace than human beings and we as a society are capable of. A few days ago, I bought a dishwasher, and what I was told there is to not eat the washing powder. 50 years ago, we were taught how to change spare parts. So we're kind of decreasing our capacity of learning new things. But you mentioned something very important, trust. And I would like to know a little bit more from your perspective. How do you think that as a human being in competition with artificial intelligence, we can overcome and we can build this trustworthiness, or can we identify these trusting systems, what's worth to be trusted or not? Thank you.
Yeah, also intriguing question. Many things pop to mind, but the most prevailing one is a protection engineer. So I don't trust, and I need a backup to do it if the one doesn't do it. But this is also about, one way it's about risk management, and the other way is about how have we organized ourselves as a society to trust. We trust our banking, we trust our phone, and we know something can go wrong, and also something can go wrong in the banking. And this is a little bit the same here. When we put in the mechanisms to manage the quality and to give that trust, and we use it until we bump into something that it was misused or we could not trust it. And then, when do you invest in your grid again? When you have a blackout. So then I said, okay, now there's money again. And this was a bit also what I was thinking with the increasing complexity. When we do not only technology but the economy, and you have the sawtooth growth, we make it more complex, and then we run, we cannot go further, and we drop down, and we make it more workable, and it will get more complex again. But still, we are evolving, we're going up on the scale. So it is also by learning and doing, and hopefully that we don't stumble the wrong way. We see also in society very wrong examples in Haiti now, in a way that is also completely spinning out of control, just human beings doing this to each other. Very strange. And that when we're all aware of what we're doing, and we keep each other alert, and then it should, well, we have done anyway the steps that we need to do, and that's nice also with the EU AI Act, giving us those guidelines and directions. So I hope that somehow satisfies. Is there still on this side of the room? Yeah. Otherwise, they feel left out. We're getting in the way of lunch. I'm sorry.
Thank you. It's Adrian Ferguson from SSE.
Yeah.
It was a fascinating presentation on AI. You used the word trust a lot. Is the issue not truth, not trust? Because, for example, Microsoft now control the truth, and therefore we've got to be very careful with the message about AI.
Ooh, also gloomy. Yeah, truth. We always talk about which version of the truth, and if you look at some elections across the pond, you can also wonder what is now the truth and what is not the truth, and our politicians are telling us that is all the truth or an alternative truth, or they don't have active recollection, so they forgot the truth. Yeah. So I think they go hand in hand. Can you trust, or maybe you have to say, can you trust the truth? And the truth is in the eye of the beholder. So we're coming. This is turning into a philosophical discussion, and to the core of our living. But maybe that is good that we think about that, because this energy system is the biggest machine that we've now built, and it's running 24/7. And it's powering our world, and at the same time we're saying it's destroying our world anyway if we go fossil, continue to go fossil, and we have to find new ways to do it better. And yeah, I'm afraid the same answer is there. We have to trust the truth and work with that until we find that it was not working, and hope that we are together keeping each other sharp. And we are a step ahead. But we normally, you don't learn by making mistakes or without making mistakes. That's how we learn as a child, how we grow up. So we try to avoid mistakes, but at the same time we have to feel some friction here and there to make it shine. Is Mark allowed one more question, Mandana, or not?
It has to be our last one. My sponsors are waiting at the back for their
Mark, we will
showcase.
take it.
Okay, Mark.
Mark had a question. Mark Klein.
Okay.
I'm sponsored too.
I'll keep it quick. It's just more of a comment, really. I mean, we talk about trust, we talk about truth, but I think it's also about objectives. If you give an AI an objective, it might take several steps to reach these goals. And if it's given freedom, it might, let's say, look at possible ways to achieve these goals. And we're saying deploying AI, but let's say one DSO is deploying AI to keep the grid stable. Another one is also deploying AI. And one AI might have the highest objective, let's say, keep the grid stable. And it might decide to terminate the other AI. Because it's the best way to keep the grid operational and keep the grid stable. Because the other one might be interfering, would potentially interfere. So
AIs will have to work together just like the applications and the humans. So
yeah, so it's not just trust, it's not just, let's say, truth, but I think it's also a lot in objectives.
The objectives, yes. And it's the same discussion here. How big is then this objective? Can we look at country-wide or organization-wide? Last but not least. Aurelio, you had a question. And then we go into the demo lab sponsoring.
Thank you, Alex. So it's just a simple question. Look into the use cases, and you show us some of them. They are too much focused, in my perspective, in a short-term goal, namely cutting costs or increasing speed. as you also mentioned, as one of the three main, besides quality, that are being looked at by AI. My question is, do you know any case, or any use case, focusing on revenue growth? I was expecting to have some dynamics looking for revenue growth in this more modern economy.
That's a good question, because why is not revenue growth there? And maybe ChatGPT was not allowed to go commercial, but I don't know. But yes, that is always the driver for our countries and our economies, revenue growth. At the same time, where does the speed come from? We fear that the temperature of the Earth will rise, and that will have a more negative impact. So I got the impression that that was more driving than the revenue growth. And in a way, you can also see that as a long-term investment. We've been seeing that until 2050 what we all have to do, and everything is in place to reduce CO2 emissions and try to get into a safe way that we think, that we hope our Earth will be safe. Anyway, if it does not happen, if the temperature rises, in this room we will have water maybe this high. So that would also be a little bit, anyway, for the people living here, not nice. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for your interaction.